Hey everybody, welcome to the Book of Sean. It's our first show for 2022. It is so good to see you. I hope you've had a wonderful new year. I hope that you had a great passing of 2021. We closed the door on some stuff, didn't we? Because some stuff needed to end. Come on, talk to me. Hey, it's a new year, people. It's a new opportunities, new imaginations, new growth, new possibilities. And tonight I have a brand new show for you. I'm going to talk to my dear sister Monique Eldridge is here. She's such a blessed soul. Wait till you see her. You're going to fall in love with her smile right away. But she's had a journey. You hear me? She's had a journey. And just like me, she didn't drop down out of heaven. She climbed up out of hell. You know what I'm saying? She's had to overcome some things and deal with some things and fight through some things. And she's had some victories. She's had some absolute amazing moments. But she's here tonight because she's still processing. She's still working through some things. There's a sadness that won't let her go. There's a pale in darkness that it's wrapped itself around the shoulders. And tonight, I can't do counseling because I don't have enough time for all of that. But I just want to continue to point her in the right direction, really inspire her and push her to keep going. You follow what I'm saying? Sometimes the only thing you need in your life is somebody who just tells you, honey, keep going. Because tomorrow's going to be better. So I'm going to talk to her. I'm going to do some Ask Dr. Sean. But let's do some headlines. Let's do those right now. So I was checking out, I was reading, I'm a New York Times kind of, I'm from New York, so I'm a New York Times kind of guy. So I was reading the New York Times. And I saw this story in the New York Times that a lot of people, hundreds of thousands of people in New York City, have dedicated spaces in their homes for worship. I'm talking about Jews and Muslims and Christians and people who are Baha'i and New Age people, all across Sikhs, all across the religious spectrum, people, hundreds of thousands of people, not 100 people, not 1,000 people, but hundreds of thousands of people in New York have dedicated spaces in their home for worship because churches have been closed, mosques, synagogues, all of that's closed. And I know this may not sound like a big deal to you because, maybe this isn't your thing, but it really is. And I'll tell you why it's a big deal and why you should care about it. Because it represents a change in consciousness. It's not just that people are sort of changing where they worship, but people are really reimagining how they associate and deal with religious institutions. And that's a big change in consciousness. For most of the 21st century, from the late part of the 1990s to the early part of the 2000s, we were all into mega church, big buildings, big people, big crowds, right? Big bands, big lights, big everything, big, lots of people. As a matter of fact, you had a popping church if you had a lot of people. That's changing. Can you believe that that's changing? People are starting to realize that it's not about the size of the crowd. It's not about the building. It's not about, the band and the praise team and all of that. That at its best, religion connects you to your creator. At its best, religion connects you to the one who made you, and religion inspires you to be a better person, better than you were yesterday. At its best, religion doesn't put on your shoulders the burden of perfection or pleasing other people. Come on. At its best, religion makes you deeper, truer, richer, better. And people are starting to discover that. And people are worshiping at home. You know what I'm saying? Here's the point I'm trying to make, because you seem like you're missing it, so let me help you. People have let go of going to church, and people who've been going to church for 30 years, 20 years, 40 years, and they built altars in their homes. And here's the wisdom. This is for free. You'd be surprised at what you can live without when you decide to let go of some things. Because the things that you used to may not be the things that you need. I'm teaching, Steve. I'm trying to tell you right now, a lot of things you're just used to doing, and you think you need them because you've been doing them a long time. But the moment you decide to outgrow those things and do better and do something different, I promise you, you will discover that those things are not necessary. Who would have thought that you could find God without church? Me. Who would have thought that you can have a religion with your creator without needing a pastor or a bishop? Me. Because you never needed that to begin with. And before I change subjects and go to another headline, let me remind you that this is how Christianity started. Christianity didn't start in a church. It started in people's homes. Jesus never spent one day in a church, people. Jesus has never been to a church, physically anyway. There were no churches during his time. They worshiped in people's homes. And now people are coming back to the beginning. And you ought to come back to your beginning and figure out all the things that you've collected and done that don't make sense anymore and let them go, because it's time to do better. So let's do another headline. Let's stick with religion before I bring my guest out, because I saw this story. I think I saw the story in the Washington Post, and this is another story about religion. I'm not on a religious kick tonight, but these are some interesting stories just come from that world. And here's one of them. So David Nolan is a member of the Mormon Church. And David Nolan, his business fell in, that's him, his business fell into some hard times, and he wasn't able to sort of pay his mortgage or even have food to eat. And as a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, which is the official name of the Mormon Church, he went to his local congregation to get some help. Because, you know, when you've been a part of a church and you know, and that's where you worship and you need help, you go to your church, right? Okay, so he goes to his church. Now, he's had a business, and his business is not doing well. He can't pay his mortgage, and he doesn't have money to eat, right? Those are some fundamental needs, food and shelter. He goes to his church, and guess what they do? They give him $40. I'm just going to wait for you to find a problem with that. Now, in case you're wondering why that's a problem, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the Mormon Church, is worth hundreds of billions of dollars. The Mormon Church literally set aside $100 billion just to give away to charitable organizations. And just a full disclosure, full disclosure, I have been to the headquarters of the Mormon Church. I had a meeting there with the 12 apostles and the president of the Mormon Church. These people ain't poor. This ain't no storefront situation in Brooklyn. You know what I'm saying? The church is literally worth $100 billion, hundreds of billions of dollars. And this man goes to the church to get some help because he can't pay his mortgage and he doesn't have food to eat, and they give him $40. Okay, this is for free. I'm going to give you a test for you to determine if you should be looking for another place to worship, okay? I got some things to help you figure out if you should be looking for another place to worship. Write these down, people. Here's the first one. If the offering is longer than the sermon, you might want to go somewhere else. That was good. You're not helping me tonight. All right. Here's the second one. I got two more. Here's the second one. If the church has a building fund and has had it for 30 years and there's been no new building or no improvements on the old one, you should probably go somewhere else. And here's the last one before I run out of time. If you have been tithing your 10% and giving your good offerings to the church, you know what I'm saying? And you don't have money to pay your rent or to buy food, and you go to the church and they give you $40, it's time for you to go somewhere else. You're welcome. But here's the wisdom, though. Demand reciprocity in all of your situations and circumstances and relationships. If you've been giving, if you've been sacrificing, demand that from everybody you've been sacrificing and giving to. It may not be equal giving, but it has to be equal sacrifice. You understand what I'm saying? Don't let people get away with you doing all the giving and them doing all the taking. And if religious institutions, just like people, if they want to do that, then you got to cut your ties. I'm going to say it again. Demand reciprocity from everybody in your life, including your pastor, your husband, your wife, your kids, everybody. If you're giving, you need to get too. You follow what I'm saying? I'm going to say it again because I need to just get in your soul. If you're giving, you need to get too. And if you're not getting, open your mouth and say something. Huh? That's for you, Steve. Open your mouth and say something. If you're not getting something, closed mouths don't get fed. Open your mouth and tell people what you need, because that's the only way they'll be prepared to give it to you. Let's do another headline. So you guys remember last week before we closed out the year, I did this headline about how the North Korean leader, he's not letting people laugh for a month. He banned laughing in North Korea. Okay, so I stumbled across this headline because China would not be outdone, Steve. China said, if North Korea can ban laughing, we're going to ban tattoos. Yes, the government of China has banned tattoos on male soccer players representing the country in the upcoming Olympics and whatever soccer's, I don't follow soccer, whatever's coming up. I almost messed all that up, but I got out of it. See how I got out of that? So China has banned tattoos on all the male players. There you have it. I'm just saying, I know democracy is messy. I know democracy can be chaotic, But I'm just going to raise my hand and say, give me democracy any day, because I just believe that people can govern themselves, even if the people are fallible and sometimes not rational or reading the books that they should. Give me democracy. Let me decide on my own. I don't want some nut deciding I can't laugh or can't have a tattoo. Okay? Now, I like laughing. I don't have a tattoo. I don't think tattoos look good on dark-skinned people, by the way. You know, what do you think? He thinks they do. But I don't think they were good on Monique's like, what are you talking about, Dr. Shaw? I just don't think that they do. But anyway, freedom is everything, people. And freedom is so indelible and so important. You ought not be connected to anybody or be in anything that would jeopardize your capacity to be free. And don't let people make decisions about you, because self-determination is really what life is about. And what is freedom, Dr. Sean? I'm glad you asked. Freedom is the right to be yourself and the opportunity to be greater than what you are. The right to be yourself and the chance to be greater than what you are. And anything that comes in between you and your freedom, you got to cut it out, because you deserve to be free. After all the hell that you've been through, you earned the right to determine this season of your life. You've been through too much. You've cried too often. You fought too hard to turn over the best of your life to somebody else. If my mama was here, she'd say the devil is a lie. You better grab the wheel and drive this car yourself. Now listen, I know that there are limits to freedom. There are limits to freedom. For example, you are not free to give me COVID and send me to the hospital and be on the ventilator. You're not free to do that. Just like you're not free to get up in the crowded room and holler fire, right? There are limits to freedom. I understand that. And there should be limits to freedom. You're not free to kill me. You're not free to kill me and get away with it unless your name is Kyle Rittenhouse. I'm going to let that settle in for you. You're not free. A lot of stuff you're not free to do. But the fundamental disposition of being self-determined, that you are free for. You get to decide, beloved. You get to decide what you're going to do and how you're going to do it and what you're going to accept. You get to decide who you're going to allow to have rule and have purchase over your life. So my advice to you tonight is choose wisely. And the best choice is to choose yourself. Let's do one more. Okay. I'm not sure how to say this name. I should have asked you. Can you see his name? Juanmanuel. How you say his last name? You know it? Vidalis. Thank you. All right. Juanmanuel Vidalis. Okay. So this man right here, his name is Juanmanuel Vidalis, and he had stomach cancer. He developed stomach cancer, and he did not have the money to pay for his treatment. And so you see the video? So he raffled off his truck to pay for his cancer treatment to that man right there. And that man right there, instead of taking the truck, see, he's going to make me cry, he gave the truck back to Juanmanuel. Isn't that the best story? He gave the truck back. He found out why Juan was raffling the truck to pay for his treatment. And this man, who remains nameless, by the way, decided he was not going to take this man's truck. Even though he had won it, he had won the raffle, put his money down, he decided, nope, I'm going to give Juan back his truck. And I just wanted to bring that to you because I need you to understand, look at me, that there's still good people in the world. You hear me? There's still good people in the world. Everybody's not out to get you. Everybody's not out to break your heart or ruin your dreams. There's still good people in the world. Now, we should be intelligent and we should be shrewd and we should be judicious, right? It's okay to be skeptical. It's just not okay to be pessimistic. You understand the difference? The skeptic says, I don't know how this is going to turn out. I'm going to wait and see. The pessimist says, I already know this ain't going to work, so I'm not even going to be involved. You have a right to be skeptical about a lot of things. You should be skeptical of America, skeptical of racism, sometimes skeptical of the people in your family, skeptical sometimes of the people you are closest to because they've shown you things to make you doubt what might happen. But you don't have a right to be pessimistic because you don't know what tomorrow will bring and you don't have a crystal ball to tell you what will happen 10 years from now. You follow what I'm saying? It's okay to be skeptical about your husband or skeptical about your wife or even your kids. It's okay. If people have shown you a certain set of behavior and it makes you question them in certain areas, it's fair to be skeptical, but it's not fair to be pessimistic. It's not fair to say, I already know this ain't going to work out. And I'll tell you why. And I got to take this break. Because pessimism is an enemy to progress. If you want your kids to get better, or your husband to get better, your wife to get better, your marriage to get better, or you to get better, you can't be pessimistic. And you know how I know? Because a man who didn't know Juan gave him his truck back when he didn't have to do it. Good people in the world, people. And I think I'm one of them. So is Steve. So is Monique. Let's take this break. We're right back. So listen, if you know anything about losing people, or you know anything about grief or sadness, you understand that it is not a moment. It is a journey and a process. And the reality is, and it's been my experience with people that I've worked with, and even in my own life, some things you're going to have to live with. You're going to have to learn how to journey with them, because they are going to be with you for the rest of your life. I lost my mom in 2015. This was the woman that took me out of a garbage can. You hear what I said? When my biological parents abandoned me and left me in a garbage can, this is the woman that came into my life and rescued me, literally from the garbage. She died in 2015. And that's the only parent I've ever known, ever had. My only connection to family is her. And she died. So I know what it is to grieve. I know what it is to lose something indelible. My guest tonight also knows that journey. She also knows what it is to lose something special. And that's why I honor her tonight, and I welcome to this show Monique Eldridge. Hey, Monique, how you doing?
How are you, Dr. Sean?
Look at your smile. Can I have that?
Don't do that. Don't do that.
No, it's amazing.
You know what? I was going to say, you did all the counseling I needed in the first half. We pretty much can wrap it up. I don't think I was ready for that.
I received that. Thank you for that. See, you're making me feel good. I'm here to make you feel good.
More blush. That's what I'm here for.
Listen, we talked about reciprocity, right? You give, I get, I give, you get. That's good.
Your advice. That's it.
No, I love it. I love it. Thank you for that. So let's do this, because I like to start with questions that have nothing to do with why I brought you here. I just want some questions just about you generally, okay? So, and some of them are silly, and some of them are sillier than that. So here's the first one. If I gave, and my producer gave me this one. I love this question. If I gave you $10,000 right now, what would you spend it on?
Sadly enough, my children.
That's a great answer. What would you buy them?
You say it's a great answer, but all mothers say that answer because it's reality. It's like, we should be getting the gifts with $10,000, but it'll probably go to my kids and my husband. Yeah. But kids, they take it all from me.
Is there anything particular you would buy them? I'm just wondering.
No, just I don't know. I feel like $2,000 to 4 kids is like, it's nothing. It's like a trip to McDonald's. They eat more chicken nuggets every day than $10,000. So.
And listen, if your kids wear shoes like Steve over here, that's only one pair. $10,000 is one pair of shoes.
Well, hey, we're not in that ball game, but we definitely do some Happy Meals or some full supersize. We got that down pat.
So, just being around you in this moment, what were you like in high school?
I was captain of the cheerleading squad, captain of the basketball team. I was a part of the Christian club. I do a lot. I've never not did a lot. That's just what people describe me to do.
I'm not surprised you were the captain of the cheerleading team, because you have that thing about you. You have that thing about you. So I'm not surprised. I could see you winning in high school and everybody wanting to be like you and around you.
No, everybody was like, who is this goofy girl who just wants to be involved in everything? I hope nobody wanted to be like me, because I know I was goofy.
On a more serious note, before we turn to your journey, tell me what 2021 taught you about you.
Oh, it taught me that I am absolutely nothing without my spirituality and my religion. It's literally, like, that's my existence now. It gave me a moment to just kind of, I feel like we have that, like at some point in time, any religious person, or when you were introduced to it, maybe you had that moment where you're like, oh, I was really, really close to God. it could have been when you were a younger kid or when you first got saved or whatever the case may be for your religion. But I feel like that's what I got, like that. Yeah, me and God might be a little tight now. We might be good.
Yeah, what's so amazing about that, Monique, is that a lot of people that I've talked to have had the same experience in 2021. And here's the irony: we had it not going to church.
Yes, and the crazy thing is I was kind of raised by hippies, so that whole, and they were strong religious hippies. So, but they didn't believe in you had to get it from a church. They got it from a church because that's what they like doing. But they taught us, even if you're at home, make sure you create that. And boy, did we have to do that over the past couple of years. So I value it, but I know a lot of Christians are upset, speaking on behalf of our community.
No, listen, I understand. Your segues are amazing, because I was just about to ask you about, because I want to start to turn to your journey. I was just about to ask you about how you grew up. How did you grow up?
I grew up in a very, I would say, traditional yet under the untraditional family of the entire family. So if you have both very prestigious families, then these are the oddballs. These are like, you know what? We probably wouldn't do that with our kids, but you go ahead. My parents were just extreme hippies. They were extreme realists. My mom was a chemist. She had a chemistry degree out of UP. My dad, he was contractor and just renovated anything that you could put your eyes on. So they were very creative people, but very smart and intelligent. But they just, being biracial, biracial couple, they just believed in different views. And they kind of grew up in a time where they had to create their own little world. It wasn't really popular for them to be together how it is now. It's celebrated to be a little mixed kid, but back when I was growing up, there weren't a lot of half black, half white kids. They had babies in the 80s, so they actually faced a lot of lash, and I would say, like, what do you call it? Just, I don't know, just from their communities, not a lot of acceptance, I would say.
Yeah.
Maybe not their personal ones, but around them. But either way, it caused them to have to experience life, and they chose to raise us in a way where it was like, you're going to experience life, but it's not just going to be from your own experiences. We're going to take the things that are probably hard for parents to talk about, and probably hard for us to face as adults, and having to tell you that we just experienced that. But if it's going to give you knowledge, then I'm going to do it like that. They were very real people. That's what I would say. To sum it all up, I grew up in a very real world.
Listen, give me an example of how real it was. Do you mind?
No. So my mom and my dad, they were like protesters, right? So extremely hard protesters. So they had a fight about them, right? So my mom, she was feisty, and she was fighting one week, and she had to go to jail because of involvement with her and another person. Well, we come home. We didn't know where she was. We come home, and she sits us both down, me and my sister Mercedes. She sits us both down, and she's saying, listen, I went to jail. Didn't come home this weekend is because I went to jail. So here's what I need you to know. If ever you go to jail. We had questions like, why did you go to jail? For fighting. Fighting is bad. Fighting can get you put in jail. Like, it was very realistic.
Steve, you hear this? Keep going, Monet. I'm just gonna bring Steve into this. Keep going.
No worries. I just, it was extremely, extremely real. You didn't have many times where it was like, well, you shouldn't do that. It was more so like, if you do that, here are your consequences. And the only reason that I know is because it happened to me. My parents grew up in the hippie world. They experienced some drugs. My dad even had to go to rehab. Like, drugs were a part of their life. They were addicts, considered addicts at one period of time, functioning addicts, but considered addicts at one period of time. they both had teeth problems. Like, so their prime example for me and my sister was, hey, you want to do drugs or you want to have teeth? It was, and my sister and I were like, hey, we actually like our teeth, so no drugs. And that was that. There was no, growing up in a world like that, it's unethical because parents don't do it because there's a pride and your kids have to look at you in a certain light. And being a mother for I follow the same path. So if something happens, I let them know. If things are happening in the news to our community, I let them know. I don't think you should be shielded from things, but it creates this friendship in your kids, which a lot of parents, I know in the Black community, they say, I'm not your friend, I'm your mother. I got that tons of times. However, with opening up to your kids, it allows them to then open up to you.
Yeah, it is definitely a two-way street. I know that if we got it right, I know that you lost them.
Mm-hmm.
And before we take this break, because just listening to you talk to them, I see your face light up. I see you experiencing the memories. Tell me what it was like to lose them. What did it do to you?
It did everything that it was supposed to do. If I can look in hindsight, but it was the toughest thing that I have ever had to go through. And for any moms out there, I've had 4 C-sections. I've been through some tough stuff. I'm a very rough Tom girl type of person. So I'm able to control a certain, emotion about myself, and I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it anymore. When I lost my mom and then I lost my dad, it was almost as if my world stopped. So it was extremely traumatic.
How did you cope? Like, how did you manage the grief, the pain?
Um, Anger. And that was the bad part about it. So for a long time, I coped with anger, and I used the anger that I guess I had towards the fact that they weren't in my life anymore. I used it to kind of fuel my hustle, fuel my, you know what I mean? Like, I lost my mom and I was a single mom of 2. And I used that to just kind of say, you know what? I don't have no mother. I got to get this on my own. You know what I mean? But in a way, it was just pure anger that was built up because I'm telling myself what I don't have and reminding myself over and over, like, you don't have a mom, you don't have a mom. And every time I say that, in a way, it's pumping me up to go and work harder, but it was just pure anger I was feeding myself.
Yeah. Monique, hold on one second, because I got to take this break. We got to pay some bills. But listen, everybody watching, I told you were gonna love her. I'm a good judge of. I can read a person from 10 miles away. She's absolutely amazing. We're gonna hear more about her story because it gets deeper. Because what you see from her, there's even more to know. We'll be right back right after this. Welcome back, everybody. I'm talking to the incomparable Monique Eldridge about her journey and about her grief, the loss of her parents. Monique, listen, I honor everything you've given us tonight. You really have made yourself available to us. And the way you express yourself, it just allows people to really tap in both to the feeling and to the wisdom and the journey. So for all the people who are watching who don't know, like you and I know, what it's like to lose a parent, answer it. And I already know the answer, but I'm just going to ask it so folks who don't know the journey will get an answer. Are you still grieving?
100%. You never really stop grieving. You find moments where you understand, but you never stop grieving. Never.
Now hold on, that's rich. You find moments where you understand, but you never stop grieving. Say more about that, because that got me.
Well, you probably have experienced it. Grief is so long, and it's some days you don't even know what it is. It's like, what is this thing that I've just been experienced? And you can get caught in it. So it takes losing a parent. Let's say, Dr. Sean, you lost your parent. That person, like you said, is literally the person who saved your life. in your eyes, this is Superman. Your parents are Superman. Like, it doesn't matter where they are, if they're a bad parent, if they're a good parent. When you lose that parent, there is a sharp pain that has to go through you in order for you as a child to fully actually mature. And that takes a lot of understanding. And
Yeah.
there where you're like, oh, sometimes you don't even really understand. You just reach an understanding that you'll never understand.
Yeah, yeah. Now that's listen. That's rich. That's absolutely rich and powerful. Um, because in many ways, death is the severing of the final umbilical cord. It's so interesting because speaking of umbilical cords, I know that you. A part of why I really wanted to talk to you tonight is because you have sort of a double whammy, right? So you have the grieving over your parents, but you're also dealing with postpartum depression. Talk about
Yes.
that.
Postpartum is a different beast. Grief is grief, and it's sure to attack everybody. But the women who have to go through postpartum, I worship you. I love you. We're on the same page. You have my understanding. It Postpartum is something that almost like grief, you don't have control over. It just hits
Hmm.
you, and it tells you how long you're in it. Now, postpartum does not. It's kind of, I would say, easier to kind of get to reaching a leveling ground to where it's like, okay, I feel more like myself, in opposed to grieving being this thing that can hit you at any time and completely cause something that's like totally like, I don't know, like just heart wrenching. It can put you in moods, but postpartum is a consistent thing. It's I had a baby, my body is changing, and it's not telling me what it's doing. So
Hmm.
you get emotions, and just like grief, you handle those emotions in ways that you think at the time is best. But when dealing with such an impactful thing that's almost conquering your brain, it's hard to fight it. It's like grief. It's really, really hard to fight it. So I mean, I don't think that it's talked about enough because it's hard for men to understand it. And, when women understand it, it's like not everybody goes through this. I did not go through postpartum depression with my first two children, but my girls, I mean, it hit me in the worst way. It was like a full on depression. And it lasted for longer than the 6 weeks that they gave me to get back to work. It lasted for a year, a whole year.
Wow, wow. You again. You're so intuitive because I was literally about to ask you, do you think that your husband even understands, what you're going through? And not again using him as the example, but any man really, right? Can any of us understand what that's like? So do me this favor. Don't answer that question. Answer a better question. Do me this favor.
Not get your husband in trouble tonight. Let me
Yes, yes, exactly. You see how I course corrected. I said, yeah, I'm not gonna mess up no marriage tonight.
absolutely not. No, I'm just joking.
What would you say to every proverbial husband to help us understand what a woman dealing with postpartum depression is going through? What would you say to us? Talk to us.
No, I'm just they told you I'm a feminist, right? No, I'm just joking. I don't do labels. Men, if you were able to experience a cramp a month and not cry and wither, then I would honestly be able to tell you. But don't ever try to understand what a woman is going through after she spends 10 months making lungs. Have you ever made a lung, man? No, you have never made a lung. A brain? Do you know what it takes to make a brain? No. So to give me a short period of time and then expect me to live up to this goddess expectation, don't try to understand why I'm yelling and screaming. Just talk quiet, make everything safe. Make me some tea. Make some tea. Make your don't understand. That's the big thing. Do not, you know what, Dr. Shad, I joke about it, but it's so serious. It's like they don't even understand. Women, we don't understand. I would never be able to tell you what to do for me in postpartum depression because every day is a new day for me. Every day is, okay, well, this week I don't like my body. But it's not just I don't like my body in a small way. It's I'm obsessing over my body. And I've never obsessed over my body. So now with me, and is the baby gonna feel this because I'm breastfeeding, and is my husband gonna like me because everything piles on top. So you have nothing to do with the postpartum depression. The solution lies in you so much, because if I can see you as a man at the light of the tunnel in such a dark space in myself, and you can feed me, you know what I mean, just heal that place where it's like I'm beating myself up in my head. I'm my body's changing. I don't, it's so much. I could talk on for days for what I could tell, man. Just tea, a good foot rub, and don't say nothing. Don't open.
No.
If she says something to you, Snappy, just say, yes, dear. Yes, dear.
Yeah, no, listen, listen, can you stay a little longer?
I can stay a little
Yeah,
longer.
stay a little longer. I'm going to keep you for one more segment. I got to take this break, but for everybody watching, you know, Monique, you said something that's really powerful. Here's what she said. When women are going through this, in this depression, in this state where there's grief or depression, the best thing the men in their life or in your life can do, as men, what we can do is stand outside of the tunnel and remind you that there's life out here too, right? To remind you that there's life out here too. Sometimes you can't go in to get a person. They got to come out on their own. But what you can do is stand outside and let them know that when you're ready to come out, it's safe out here, we're good out here, and we'll be together out here. Let's take this break. We'll be right back. I'm going to keep Monique. We'll be right back right after this. Welcome back, everybody. So listen, I'm having a great time talking to Monique Eldridge tonight. She's such an amazing spirit, and her wisdom and her substance, all of it's rich. Monique, welcome back. First, thank you for staying over, because I was supposed to let you go at the end of the last segment, but I said, no, there's no way I'm letting you go. What'd you say?
You holding me hostage?
No. We listen, you started out hitting home runs and you haven't stopped. So I figured, listen, it's not every night that I get a guest at your level and your caliber. And so there's no way I was letting you go, because I think so many people watching tonight are really being blessed by you. I think you are speaking for people and you are speaking to people. And so I honor you for that. Tell me this, when did you know you needed help? When, like, take me into that moment.
It had gotten too dark, and it had got, and I'm a pretty rough girl, so it had gotten a little too dark for me. I was just too angry at too many people around me, and it kind of, you kind of know that saying where it's like, you know, if more than one person tells you something, then you might have an issue. It was like 4 or 5 people, and I was still like, no, it's y'all. I'm not really that type of person. I want, you know, to reach resolution with people at all times, but I was willing to cut off any and everybody just so that I could stay angry and stay myself. And the things that I called myself, which was, oh, well, I'm not rude, I'm not this, I'm blunt, you know what I mean? I'm real, no, girl, you're angry. And that's that was spewing over into relationships that I wasn't really willing to lose, but I was losing them. And it didn't seem like I cared. So it was just noticing how dark things were getting for me, and how, you know, you feel alone. In postpartum depression, you feel alone. In grief, you pretty much feel like nobody understands you. You have this lack of something where it's like, oh, but you don't know the relationship with my mom that I had, or with my dad that I had. But in postpartum, you got a baby, a new baby, family, most times like a husband or at least a baby daddy or somebody. And it's like, I still feel alone. And you know, I'm a very sociable person. People say, you know, you have too many best friends, but I just like to be sociable. I love people and people enjoy me. So for me to get down to like 5 good friends and then be like, it was a little weird. So I knew I was doing something. And, I think your circle, I get keeping your circle small and not being too into everybody, but I also think that that reflects the type of person that you are. I think that if you're able to interact with people, people are able to interact with you, no matter the different type of personalities. And if you just don't like that person, just move on. You don't have to carry a grudge or cut people off. You just move on. So I was realizing that I was becoming one of those people that I kind of looked at and felt sad for. So I couldn't watch I couldn't just lie down. I couldn't lie down because my mom and my dad didn't raise me to lie down. So they would hate to, they literally would roll over in my dad's cremated, but roll over in their grave if they found out I was just straight up punking it. Like, nope, I don't do it no more. I don't care. And I found pride in knowing that it was my job to carry on their legacy because they were not here. And I was doing a horrible job at it. And I decided to just kind of pick up and fight myself. I wasn't fighting nobody else but myself. And it was just the healing that needed to happen that I was refusing for some odd reason because I was trying to hold on to everything that I had of my parents or my old body or my childhood or my life before I was married or even being able to go out on the weekends. It was just, I was fighting that and I had to learn to let go. And when I did, I was enlightened as to how much stuff I was carrying around, what type of person I actually was becoming, and I didn't even know it. So
I loved everything you just said. No, I did. It's just so rich because that capacity for self-awareness is so critical, and so many people lack it. I'm going to have to let you go, but before I do, there's no way I can't ask you this question. I know you're a woman of faith. I know you're a woman of grit and determination. So I know you have vision. I know you have the ability to see those things that be not as though they were, right? So tell me what you hope for.
That's big. I hope for a lot of big things. Like, I almost feel crazy sometimes for the things that I hope for. Like, and they're not small things. It's like, I want to cure homelessness. Like, that's my thing that I hope for. Like, I want to do things that people think are insane. Like, when I was blessed enough to hop out of a plane and people thought I was crazy, but to me, that was just like, okay, I'm just getting my feet wet. What else can I do that's crazy? It's just, I dream, my brain, I think because of how I was raised, and my sister's the same way, so I kind of compare it. The things that I hope for would make me sound like a absolutely insane person. So I would just say, I hope that I reach my full capacity, because when I do, I know that like people are gonna see it's okay to dream that big, but I'm just not that comfortable saying, oh yeah, I'm that crazy, y'all.
No, listen, like listen, Monique, I honor that. I honor that and I value that. Monique, can you hear me? So
I can't hear you.
I got to take this break, but let me say this to you. I know that your Creator isn't finished with you yet. And I know that your heart is going to sing again. And I know that there are poems in you that are going to be written without words. And I know that you have a music that you can't even imagine dancing to yet. And I know that your future is a bright, bright beacon of possibility. I know it. I've been talking to you for 40 minutes, and I know it. You hear me? And I know what we're doing tonight is not a substitute for therapy. It's not a substitute for counseling. We should always do that. We should always get that. But sometimes deep needs to talk to deep. Let's just have some soul talk. You know what I'm saying? And that's what we've had tonight. You've allowed me into your soul, and hopefully I've allowed you into mine just a little bit. I can't thank you enough for this. Thank you for coming on tonight.
Well, thank you for having me. And yeah, you got me out the way in the first 5 minutes of the show, so we equal.
Come back and see me again. Listen, everybody, I got to take this break. We'll be right back right after this with some Ask Dr. Sean. Welcome back, everybody. Monique Eldridge, right? Amazing. Just an amazing spirit, an amazing woman, an amazing journey. You're amazing too, by the way, right? You are. I don't know if you know it or not, but you are an achievement. You are an undertaking. Let me stop. Let's do some Ask Dr. Sean. You guys always send me great videos, and somebody sent me one, so let's take a look at it now. I can't hear the video. I can't hear. So let's go to the written question, all right? And then we'll come back to that when we fix the sound. All right, somebody DM'd me this question. My son just celebrated his 19th birthday, and while I'm happy, why am I doing this southern thing with my voice? Anyway, while I'm happy that he's coming into his own and getting his own apartment, I'm also sad. He assures me that he'll never forget me, but I find more sadness than joy in the fact that he's starting his life. How do I cope with my son leaving the nest? All right, great question. I've gotten questions similar to this before. And one of the things I try to help parents understand as I have gone through this process, by the way, and that is, first of all, celebrate the fact that you won. You produced and you raised and you ushered into the world a healthy, sane, functioning adult from birth to paying their own mortgage. So we should not see this as something that we mourn, but something that we celebrate because you did your job. And your job was not to have him and then keep him. Your job was to have him and then give him to the world so that he might take what's in him and make the world a better place. You follow me? You see, we ought to go into parenting understanding our kids don't belong to us. They're not our possession. We are stewards. We are incubators. We are grooming and growing the greatness in them so that the greatness in them can translate itself into transforming the world into which they were born. And you did your job. You did what you were supposed to do, and apparently you did it well because you just told me through your direct message about a kid, a young man, who didn't end up in jail. He didn't die premature. He's not strung out. He's not alcoholic. He's not all of the things that can happen to people that happen to people all the time. All the vicissitudes of life, they didn't befall him. And you did that. He's where he is because of you, your investment, your support, and your help. So you might just stick a little step back and give yourself a standing ovation. And then realize that he is not yours. And that he was never yours. He was only incubated in you, in your love, and in your case, in your body, for a season. See, the hard part that parents have to understand is that we build our lives on our kids, and we make our kids our everything, only to discover when they get to be 18, 19, 20, 21, and up, that they're going to have their own lives. And now the hard part is for you to find your life again. And for you to find your life separate and distinct and apart from the life that he is now developing. You see, he should not need to reassure you that he's not going to cut you out, because cutting you out, if you're healthy, should not be one of your concerns. What you should be focused on now is, what are your priorities? What were you born to do? Can you get back to the things that you need to be doing that's independent of him? He can't be your whole world. You have to be that again. He can't be the reason you smile or the reason you do extra or the reason. You have to be reminded of those things in yourself. And his leaving might actually be the best thing that ever happened to you. Because for all the years that he stayed, you were able to pour yourself and lose yourself. And let's just be honest, probably hide from yourself and all the things you did for him. And now that he's moved on to other skies, he's going to hover around other moons. Right? He's going to have his own family, his own wife, his own kids. Now you have to get back to the business of pursuing your greatness, your raison d'etre, your reason for being. And that's what life does. Life moves us to the places we need to be exactly when we need to get there. You see, mourning his leaving, there's nothing to mourn. What are you mourning? He's not deceased. He ain't dead, Steve. He's just living over there. And you live over here. And you'll still talk to each other and love each other and care for each other. But what you can't be is codependent on each other anymore. Time for you to stand up. Time for you to make a big meal for yourself. Make a good breakfast for you now. Clean the house for you. Do all the things that you were doing to make sure that he had everything in place. Do them for you. Because this is the season of your life where you get to rediscover self-love. And not just the love you pour into other people. You understand what I'm saying? So we're going to reject the language of mourning and sadness. There's nothing sad about it. This is victory. You survived. You know, your kids will drive you to drinking. Cognac and tequila. But that didn't happen to you. You ought to celebrate that. You should feel good about this. And you should feel good about him. And don't leave him with a negative taste in his mouth because he's doing what he was born to do, and that is to grow and to be better. Make sure he only knows that you're happy for him, okay? Don't make him feel guilty. Don't use guilt. Thank you for tuning in tonight, everybody. Great first show of the year. Thank you, Monique. Hey, y'all have a good night. Y'all be good to each other. I love you.